Welcome to the Steady Anchor Podcast, a podcast on Christian faith and practice, highlighting doctrine and discipleship in the local church. I'm Luke, and welcome to the show. Welcome back to the Steady Anchor Podcast. This is part 6 of our walk through the book of Proverbs. We're going through the book of Proverbs, one chapter a day for the whole month of January, about 10 minutes an episode, just walking through the passage, looking for what God has to say through us in terms of wisdom, in terms of living a life that is holy and pleasing to Him. So we go through this passage. If you enjoy this, if this benefits you, please share with a friend. With that said, let's go into the chapter. From the ESV, Proverbs chapter 6. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, have given your pledge for a stranger, if you are snared in the words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and save yourself. For you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go, hasten, and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep and your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in the summer, and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech, winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger. With perverted heart he devises evil, continually sowing discord. Therefore calamity will come upon him suddenly. In a moment he will be broken beyond healing. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. My son, keep your father's commandments, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them on your neck always, and tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will talk with you. For the commandment is a lamp, and teaching a light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life, to preserve you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress. Do not desire her beauty in your heart. Do not let her capture you with her eyelashes. For the price of prostitute is only a loaf of bread, but a married woman hunts down a precious life. Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is he who goes in to his neighbor's wife. None who touches her will go unpunished. People do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his appetite when he is hungry, but if he is caught, he will pay 7-fold. He will give all the goods of his house. He who commits adultery lacks sense. He who does it destroys himself. He will get wounds and dishonor, and disgrace will not be wiped away. For jealousy makes a man furious, and he will not spare when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation. He will refuse though you multiply gifts. This is the word of the Lord. So walking through this chapter, we see in the first few verses more practical warnings, more general statements of wisdom, more wise sayings that are good to remember, things that are beneficial for wisdom and for building up. And then the last half of the chapter is, again, a reference to adultery, for a warning for the son to keep away from the adulterous woman, to consider his ways, to be wise in the way that he acts, to avoid temptation, and to consider the consequences of his actions, to consider the consequences of being caught. We see in verses 1 through 11 the call to diligence and the warning against laziness. We see in the first 5 verses talking about if you've pledged yourself to something, if you're caught up with your words, if you spoke unwisely and committed to something you're unable to complete, if you've backed yourself into a corner basically, then go and do all that you can to get yourself out of it. Give yourself no sleep. Don't let your eyes slumber, but go and try to rid yourself of this burden as best as you can. It says go to the ant. It's an advisement to like go and look at the ant in the ground. You see that they work, and without these calling orders, it's not organized like an army. And we know today from science that it's a little more complicated than this. Like there's the chemical signals and the hive mind and whatever the cool stuff you want to learn about ants. But really, the message here is look at the diligence of the ant. Look at the way that they prepare and gather food. Why aren't we acting like that? Why are we lying there in laziness? A warning against loving sleep so much that we just say, I'll just take a little nap. I'll just fold my hands real quick. And if you live your entire life like that, if laziness is what defines you, then poverty is going to come upon you like a robber. If you lack diligence, if you lack perseverance, if you lack desire to succeed, to perform well, not just for the sake of growth, but for the sake of honoring God through your work, then be prepared for want and lack to come your way. Also, that speaking about these things that the Lord hates, the things that are an abomination to him. Speaking of the wicked man who's always like signaling, who's always pointing, who's always devising and plotting and planning to do evil things. The one who's always giving the sealing, the sign, the signaling to go and unleash some wicked plan upon somebody else. Well, disaster's going to come upon him before he expects it. He's going to be broken beyond healing in the moment he expects it the least. These are the kind of things that God hates: haughtiness, pride, deceit, the shedding of innocent blood, a heart that desires wickedness, feet that run to evil, false witnessing, and discord among brothers. These are things that God hates. He hates seeing untruth. He hates pride. He hates wickedness. He hates a lack of peace. We also see the warning against adultery, and it's something we see repeated over and over again, because obviously it's very important to the author. And just think about how prevalent this is to our society. Think about how many young men, and more frequently now, more women, who have fallen into sexual sin in so many different areas, and the way that it's destructive for them, the way that lust and temptation have destroyed so many young lives. And I know my life has been affected by it, and I know the costly effects of giving in to temptation. Another warning for his son to bind instruction on his heart, to tie it around his neck, to make it always rememberable, to always remind himself to walk away, to flee from temptation, to that the momentary enjoyment and pleasure that he gets from a prostitute or from an adulteress will fade quicker than he can realize, and it'll be left empty. And then comes the discipline. It's like playing with fire. You're going to get burned sooner or later. You just imagine what happens when the husband gets home. He's going to be furious in his jealousy. He's not going to spare you when he takes revenge. But more than that, we shouldn't be just worried about the physical harm of a person who takes revenge, but we should be worried about the Lord who hates these wicked things. We should remember that even if we in some ways get away with doing something evil, if a person goes and hires a prostitute or has an affair and gets away with it, if they go unpunished, in a sense, that ultimately God is the judge. So we should remember in application to not be trapped by our words, to speak wisely, and to flee from bondage, from debt, that we should be diligent, that we should be busy, that we should be working to God's glory. We should be aware of the things that the Lord hates. The Lord hates wickedness, and we should be careful not to play with fire, thinking we won't get burned. That being said, if this benefited you today, if you thought this was helpful, if you go throughout your day and you feel like you're a little bit wiser because of it, we are glad. We hope this blesses you a lot. If you would do us a favor as well, please share with a friend. That's how we grow. That's how word of this gets out, is by word of mouth. And so until tomorrow, many blessings. We'll see you.